Well, good evening, friends and family. Today is Friday, September 27th, 2019. And yes, I know I'm doing my devotions late at night instead of early in the morning. This morning we were at a conference down in the Nashville, Tennessee area and got on the road, and I realized I'd forgotten to do them before I left and didn't take it with me. So here I am. We're home for the evening. We're getting ready to be ramping up for our Saturday and Sunday events. So I wanted to make sure that I did my daily devotions in our Walking with Jesus devotional. Today's story is Teachings on the Yeast of the Pharisees. We're on page 47 of our reader, and it comes from both Matthew and Mark. So here we go. Matthew 16, 5 through 12. Later, after they crossed to the other side of the lake, the disciples discovered they had forgotten to bring any bread. "Watch out," Jesus warned them. "Beware of the yeast of the Pharisees and Sadducees." At this, they began to argue with each other because they hadn't brought any bread. Jesus knew what they were saying, so he said, "You have so little faith. Why are you arguing with each other about having no bread? Don't you understand even yet? Don't you remember the 5,000 I fed with 5 loaves and the baskets of leftovers you picked up? Or the 4,000 I fed with 7 loaves and the large baskets of leftovers you picked up? Why can't you understand that I'm not talking about bread? So again, I say, beware of the yeast of the Pharisees and Sadducees." Then at last they understood that he wasn't speaking about the yeast in bread, but about the deceptive teaching of Pharisees and Sadducees. And then our reading from Mark 8, 13 through 21. So he got back into the boat and left them, and he crossed to the other side of the lake. But the disciples had forgotten to bring any bread. They had only 1 loaf of bread with them in the boat. As they were crossing the lake, Jesus warned them, "Watch out. Beware of the yeast of the Pharisees and of Herod." At this, they began to argue with each other because they hadn't brought any bread. Jesus knew what they were saying, so he said, "Why are you arguing about having no bread? Don't you know or even understand yet? Are your hearts too hard to take it in? You have eyes, can't you see? You have ears, can't you hear? Don't you remember anything at all? When I fed 5,000 with 5 loaves of bread, how many baskets of leftovers did you pick up afterward? 12, they said. And when I fed the 4,000 with 7 loaves, how many large baskets of leftovers did you pick up? 7, they said. Don't you understand yet? He asked them. You know, the reality is, especially on a Friday night when people are going out to enjoy the evening and have fun, we need to be cautious about who it is that we associate with. Who is it that we allow to speak into our lives? Who is it that we allow to shape us and mold us? Jesus was warning about the Pharisees and the Sadducees who had religion and were good at it, but they didn't really have a relationship with God. And so, therefore, their influence, their yeast, their teachings were not going to give the disciples what they needed. Jesus is warning us still today that we need to be cautious about who we allow to speak into our hearts. Who is it that we listen to? Who is it that we follow? So as you're going out having fun tonight or going to a football game or whatever it is you might do, I pray that you'll be cautious about who you allow to pour into you, but then also think about who you should be pouring into, who might need your good influence in their life. Be a blessing to those around you, and have a great evening.